All right, so this is recording 765. The name of my podcast is Speaking to the CIA. My website is christinastation918.com. You can find me on Spotify, Scorpio71. You can find me on Podbean. You can also find me on YouTube. You can find me as Christina MS918. That's my Twitter name, so you can find me there also. Okay, so... All right, so continuing on. So something that I forgot to mention, she probably blinked my brain because she's literally on my brain right now trying to tell you more lies. So, wait, there was something else with the freaking overalls, but now I can't remember. But anyway, so, okay, so the Blues Brothers, that's what the heck what is the other name she called them? Let me think for a minute. Oh my God, what did she call them? Oh, Doobie Brothers. That's what she called them. So anyway, so the Blues Brothers, connects. Then you're gonna have to see all ciphers that she wrote around stalking, Gene and Richard Bomey in New Orleans. Okay, so Gene and Richard Bomey are brothers. Gene was stalking them all of their life too. I don't know about all their life, but I know as far back as the 70s, but I mean, I don't know before the 70s. But anyway, she was stalking Gene and Richard Bomey. You have to see all the decoded ciphers I did around her stalking them. So anyway, so remember I told you she was stalking the Bomies, and every time I would decode ciphers around her stalking the Bomies, she would have it intertwined with stalking the cartel. And she was stalking, oh my gosh, she's blanking my name. She's blanking my brain on his name, the Sinaloa cartel. Oh my gosh. Escobar and El Chapo. Okay, so she was stalking their family lines at the same time, and I've decoded this so freaking much. All of my life, okay, she was stalking their family lines all of their life, okay? So they went back even further because I had strong connections to the cartel, and I still do have pretty good connection to the cartel, but they stay silent. They tried to do a vignette to communicate something, and she interrupted it with her freaking nasty freaking lie grime, and then just totally mangled the vignette. So later, and I don't know how they managed to get it done, but people are finding ways to make connections because they know that I've got reports against Gene Roberts out to the CIA. But anyway, I'll save it. I'll save it for when I get to talk to people in person in the future. So anyway, so she was stalking their family lines at the same time. I'm like, I can't believe it. Because I'm like, who is she talking about? She's talking, like, I'd have to continue decoding. And I'm like, she's talking about both of them parallel as the same. And she's doing it all around Jack the Ripper. She's referring to herself. And just like she refers to Jekyll and Hyde as herself, it's one of her aliases. But she's trying to push it off onto them because she's like, she wants to be Mrs. freaking Sugar freaking Sweet Muse or something. She's a fucking idiot. And so she's got it in her demon ciphers that I'm decoding, but she's referring to herself as that, but she wants to push it onto them like it's one of their aliases. Like, ooh, that's gangster, that's cool. Take it, eat it. Trying to get even lying to Latin people and trying to get themselves into calling themselves Jack the Ripper and everything else. So I'm like, and they know the leaders of the cartel, like, no, they know that's Gene's, they know that that is Gene's alias. And they can't stop what people on the street do that have gotten lied to or conned or hustled by the freaking god dang Ku Klux Klan out using CGI and AI posing as Latin gangs trying to like implode Mexico. Remember I told you she and that's what she does is she spreads lies and wants to start a war and then wants to blame Mexico as if Mexico's starting the war. She's like, just let me know. And then she tells me, and they're like, they told her in my brain when I lived in Oklahoma City, no, Gene, you're not going to go spread lies. You're not going to do that. They tried to do everything to get her to stop. She even offered them the Levi's Corporation, and they're like, we don't want your fucking Levi's. So, I mean, and they're finding out that she freaking, they're finding out that she freaking robbed them. They're finding out about all of her stalking. They're finding out about her committing terrorism in their nation. They're like, they're pissed. And she basically like silences everything or tries to silence everything and goes about her business and tries to form like this new, like, little white run, and it's going to piss you off. Don't get mad at me at the messenger. I'm just making you aware because I know people do not like to be hustled. I'm making you aware. Do not get mad at me. So they're controlling my speech to make it sound as harsh as possible so that you do get pissed and you get pissed at me. But then again, you can tell there's Gene Roberts trying to play you even by controlling my speech right there. So that's what I'm saying. So she wanted to form a new little like local like cartel or a new like local like or a faction of the cartel here in Tulsa, and she wanted to all be white ran but have everybody think it's all cartel. So she tricks Latin people into doing everything, and they fell for it for a while. It took like a good like when I first got here to Tulsa, because I can hear a mental telepathy in my brain. When I first got here to Tulsa, it was fine. Like there was no no upheaval and nobody acting like crazy and sick or like there was like no it was like it was just like regular life, like people like joking around, talking back and forth to each other, just regular like family living life or whatever. And then she hijacked or got a hold of or put up nets, like, you know what I mean, like proxy walls or proxy nets, and like hijacked all the main AI lines and then smothered over it, acting like she's some super secret freaking cop force. And she's not even a cop. She's the leader of a goddamn satanic occult, but she poses as FBI. But anyway, so she's like, she wants to run she wants to create a new like little cartel, but it's all run by Gene Roberts and her goddamn fucking honkies, her freaking Charles Manson occult. And so everything she has them going out doing, she's using CGI, and talking to people in AI, and she's pretending to be Spanish, and she's tricking people and she's lying to people. In my brain, she still tries to pull this to this day. She even uses CGI of my first husband's mom, Mary Lou. And you know, I turned Jean in for kidnapping, and I truly believe that she kidnapped her because of, I'll talk to you in the future when I get to talk to you in person and give you all the details. I gave you details when I pressed charges against her, and there's a whole lot more. So, and this is what I was told. She's trying to their people are trying to they know they're trying to cliche everything that you say because they think it's a joke. They think it's fucking funny. So she literally, Gene Roberts, my dad's ex-girlfriend, the bitch who committed stolen valor, the leader of Charles Manson, a fucking honky. I call bad white people honkies. Regular white people are just white people, just whatever. Assholes, scumbags, Satanists, racist. I just call her Charles Manson occult honkies, which would be racist, which would be all of that. Anyway, so she hijacked it and is like trying to run because she robbed the cartel and she wants to run a trafficking ring and wants to try to make it look like it's Mexico, and then feeds fuel to the fire trying to antagonize people and get people hyped up. So then they go do all her shit. So then she pays them little jobs to lie for her, or to, which they do in my brain. And I'm like, would you freaking cut it out? Like a couple of people have like finally broken down and they're like, we're sorry. We don't have a way out of this. We know that Gina's lying. We don't have a way out of this. So anyway, what the leaders of the cartel told me, the actual leaders of the cartel, because I met 20 to 30 top leaders of the cartel, and then I got to know top leaders of the cartel family. I got to talk to I got to know Al Chapo, and then Escobar's nephew, and then everything he's ever said or done, she twists into lies. But he knows as soon as he gets she tries to cut the connections, and he knows as soon as he gets a clear connection to me in my brain, and I'm like, la, 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 la. And then he knows I don't lie. He knows I don't lie. He knows I love my family. He knows I can't stand Jean. He knows I know Jean did the World Trade Center attack. He knows that I know she's trying to blame that on everybody else and trying to get away with it. Like, he knows. And so, like, he'll catch up with me, like, real quick, and then he goes off and gets pissed. But, so, anyway, so she's like, she goes, I don't remember what I was saying with this, with the card. So she goes and she tries to incite people, but she wants you guys to be like, for those of you guys that have been like helping her, got sucked into her stuff because you didn't expect freaking City Slicker, freaking Gene freaking Roberts and her Manson occult to like do that. Like, nobody suspects any of that. And she hit regular people up, like people that aren't even in the cartel, like regular Latin families, regular, just regular people, like living life, not gangsters, but just like regular Latin people. So anyway, she went and spit all these freaking lies, and then was like, she probably went and said that the leaders of the cartel put her in charge and told her to do it, so that's how she can pay him back. Because when that started failing through, then she said that Donald Trump said she could. That Donald Trump said that she could freaking traffic freaking kids as a way to pay the cartel back, is basically lines that she freaking said. And she pushed this through so wide, so vast, it was like a tidal wave. And so basically where Trump is at with it is, she is trying to do that, and he just like pays attention to every single thing that's going on everywhere. So of course the leaders of all governments are going to pay close attention to what's going on. And just because it seems like Gene Roberts and her Manson occult is getting away with icing Latin people and lying and conning Latin people and claiming she owns Mexico, which is one of the nations she claims she owns now, doesn't mean she's going to get away with it forever. She's committed massive terrorism. I know you guys know she's running hostage rackets. So anyway, so she pretends to be Mary Lou. So in my brain, somebody will start yelling at the Navy captain, at Gene Roberts. And if there's Latin people on, she real quick does an overlay, a mask of herself. And because I can see her in my brain, she does a real quick mask overlay of herself and turns herself into my kids' grandma. And literally pretends to be Mary Lou. And she lies to Latin people everywhere, pretending to be Mary Lou. It's freaking sick. And then I've heard, it was like maybe last year, probably. Like, people have talking in my brain and they're repeating like a whole bunch of lies that Gina said, and they were like believing it. And my brain, my mental telepathy where I can talk and my brain is muted. I can't, all I can do is hear. I can't like talk because she's taunting you, because I can't talk back and say, no, 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 no. Like, it's just, she has me like muted where I can't talk back. So anyway, she's trying to con and manipulate Latin people, and she wants to start war, and she wants to blame it on Mexico, is what she wants to do. So anyway, I was told, like, by everybody, she's not going to get away with any of that. But anyway, so when I'm decoding her stalking the Bomies, she's also stalking the cartel, but she's got the ciphers of them intertwined, right? Like, she's got them, like, pegged into this, like double, like, she's, like, stalking two different sets of families or two different groups of people, but she's combining them as one. And so I'm like, what is this? I keep decoding and decoding and decoding, and I'm realizing she's like playing like both of them. And then come to find out, this is evidence that she's stalking the Nation of Islam. So I'm like, oh my gosh. When I figured the latest part out, I was like, oh my gosh. She's like been stalking the Nation of Islam this long, which that's a group of people that Gene Roberts, you have to remember, I'm not making this up. She is literally the true leader of Charles Manson. This is another group of people that she has always stalked, and that she has always targeted. They have suffered greatly at her hand. And on top of that, she poses as FBI, so nobody knows this is going on. And so people are like, they're not stupid, but everything, all signs always point to FBI. It's Gene Roberts and her Manson occult, but at the same time, her weaving her way into the FBI. So the FBI is guilty also, but I go to the source, which is Gene Roberts hiding inside the FBI. It's Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. So both are guilty, but the core of it is Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. So anyway, so it's literally her stalking, all of which that makes sense there with the Doobie Brothers, what she did there. So anyway, so the Blues Brothers connect. So I decoded a part of this, and she's referring to Gene and Richard Bomey, and this is like really old ciphers, like around the 70s. She's referring to Gene and Richard Bomey as the Blues Brothers, and they're brothers, and they're both retired cops. They're both retired sheriffs. I don't know what their roles were. I think Gene Bomey, I think they're both retired New Orleans police officers. And I think Richard Bomey is currently in the St. Bernard's Parish Sheriff Department. So, which is probably why she's stalking, another reason why she's stalking the heck out of him, because I found out about decoding Abajo's, the St. Bartholomew's, but that doesn't mean that that's in St. Bernard's Parish, because like in Oklahoma, there is Oswego. The name of the Abajo in Oklahoma City is Oswego, but you can see Oswego in different parts of the nation. Like the name, even though that's the location, you can see the names, because she's doing that with the names of the Abajos too. The shell games. The names are all over the place. So just because the names are all over the place, it doesn't mean that that's what that is in that area. So like here in Tulsa, there's Oswego Street, which is a reference to an Abajo, and it's a historical street. and it's a reference to the Bajos and I decoded all this. I'm not going through all the history and all the everything. The Bajo underneath Oklahoma City, but the street name is here in Tulsa, and the Bajo underneath Tulsa is named Cherry Palm, but now they don't call it Cherry Palm anymore. The name, they got the name. I decoded Cherry Palm, made me bawl my freaking eyes out, because it has to do with ancient sacrificial rites. So in history, there were it was about sacrificing, and so it has to do with Palm Sunday. So it's very, very, the name Cherry Palm is very historical, but Jean turned it into grimy ass filth to feed her freaking sick you know what. So they are like, okay, we don't want to change the name of any of Bajos because they're historical. The original names are important, but because of the original name of the Abajo underneath Tulsa, they're going to change it to Oswego North. So now when people talk about Abajos, they say Oswego South is Oklahoma City, Oswego North is underneath Tulsa. So anyway, so, and which wouldn't mean he would have anything to do with that either. But because she's probably trying to frame them, is probably what she's trying to do. And she stalks the ever living crap out of them. And she acts like she's a spokesperson of them. And they've got a big family, a huge, huge, huge family. And she acts like she's best friends with them. And I think one of the Bomies, because he came on in my brain, and he was totally white peopled by Gene. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even talk to him because I'm on mute. And all I can see is a vignette and him talking to me. And this was a couple of years ago. And you could tell Gene got her freaking claws in him. But I think he works, I don't know for a fact, but this is just from what I could see in my brain. I think he works in a prison system somewhere, one of their family members. But I don't know. You'd have to talk to the Bomies and ask them. But anyway, so next door to my dad was what? Oh my God, Gene is controlling my speech so bad. Next door to my dad is another retired sheriff who worked at the jails in St. Tammany. Slidell is in St. Tammany Parish, which is right next to New Orleans. And he is a retired sheriff, and he is also retired United States Navy. So she has literally stalked his family. She stalked my dad. She stalked Barrett, which is a couple houses up, the FBI. She stalked the Mob family, which is freaking adorable. They live across the street. She stalked them. She stalked Madeline. She stalked Richard and Jean Bomey. She stalked Nancy and Carl Ritzman, who work at Boeing. She stalked that guy. She routed my dad there, and then also don't forget DV. She stalked him too. So anyway, who's a retired Marine drill instructor. So anyway, she stalked that. Even my dad stalked. She stalked that guy. Everybody. I decoded tons of it. It's freaking insane. So anyway, so in the Blues Brothers, I'm decoding this really old ciphers, and so she's making references to Richard and Jean Bomey being Blues Brothers. So anyway, so she routes my dad. My dad retires, and he gets transferred to Eden Isles, and she's controlling his routes because she's getting him ready. She's going in for the kill. And then, but he's just living life. He's excited. Oh my gosh, New Orleans. So he falls in love with New Orleans, and then he got stationed down there, and he worked for the Army Corps of Engineer. And then they asked him to go do another tour, not a tour, but they asked him to go work. they asked him if he wanted to transfer and go work at the Pentagon again. And he said no, because by this time he had settled down, like, he's ready to retire. And so he said no. He said, no, I don't want to go back to the Pentagon. And then he just wanted to retire and just like settle down. I mean, he loves New Orleans. Like, I love New Orleans. And Jean Roberts runs around like she thinks she owns a place. Well, the whole time she's been lying to people everywhere and been trying to frame him like he's some woman freaking pimp. And it's really been Jean. So there were people, even when I lived in Slidell, people would communicate to me in mental telepathy, and they would be like, I don't know how to break this to you. It would be so freaking adorable. It was always the same kind of conversation. And it was that way until I was in Dallas. It was so freaking adorable. Like, oh, they don't know how to tell you this, Christine. I don't know how to tell you this. Like everybody's like, I gotta tell you this. I'm like, oh my God. So anyway, they were all made to believe, even people in Hollywood were all made to believe that my dad is some like freaking woman pimp like Hugh Hefner or something. Well, Jean has been out trafficking children and adults, okay? And just because I'm making this clear for you guys out there that have gotten escort services, okay, it's not a clean business, obviously. So just because you get an adult escort from a certain service and you're not doing research on who you're getting the escort from, you're not going to know what else they're doing, okay? So there are guys that have gotten sucked into that kind of situation, which Jean thinks is, coverage for her, because if you go at her for running trafficking, child and adult trafficking rings, then she'll make your life hell and then like try to like frame you or lie about you, and she'll just go about her business because she's got plenty of people that are into the other avenues that fund her and keep her freaking going. Like, she thinks she's got it made in the shade, like right now, running her little live freaking child trafficking ring, pretending like she's a savior of children. No, you're not. No, you're not. So anyway, they would come on in my brain and they're like, your dad. And I'm like, no, that's not true. And so she's trying to frame him and like set him up. And then now it's even bigger than that. She's like trying to frame like the entire like Marine Corps. And at this point, she's probably trying to frame the entire freaking military. And then like I was told, it doesn't matter what your profession is, whether you're in the military or whether you're a business leader, it doesn't matter who you are. Okay. If she's running a trafficking ring and she's trying to purposely choose the Marines, or her purposely trying to choose the military to blame, you can already tell that she's lying. Because if somebody was going to do that, what would that involve? It would involve a whole lot more than the freaking Marines. There'd be a whole lot more people in it. So then why would you be picking at the Marines or the military? So you can obviously tell that Jean is lying, and Jean is your freaking Madam Pimp trafficker. She's lying her freaking ass off. But anyway, people were like led to believe this. So he's just going along living life. And there are people that literally like thought this about him. And so it makes me kind of freaking laugh, because no, that'd be freaking G. Jernigan Roberts. I make fun of him in my brain in mental telepathy all the time. There's all kinds of Secret Service on, and people that come on and people just crack jokes and stuff, giving him freaking hell. Like, you really freaking did it. Like, someone said the other day in my brain, I started freaking laughing. They go, you're a retired Marine colonel. You were in the Marines. Like, what happened to your spidey senses? You couldn't. So they were like giving him freaking hello, like they give him a hard time because what can you do? You know what I mean? So anyway, so back to this. So anyway, around this same Blues Brother thing, she also uses she also refers to Gene and Richard Bomey as the Doobie Brothers. Okay. So this is really old ciphers. Okay. That I decoded in Slidell. The date timestamp of them is from when I was little in the 70s. So she's calling them Doobie Brothers. She used, remember I told you the cool FM, she used a lot of light rock theme. Okay. So anyway, another thing that she did was when I lived at my dad reads like crazy. He reads freaking it. He reads so freaking much. So he's got all kinds of like cool books, and it was crazy. So I got to read some of his books, and anyway, one book he had I picked up, and it was about the battle of Mogadishu. The Battle of Mogadishu. That's no, that's not Somalia. Oh my gosh, I get this so confused now. I'm getting all my battles mixed up, and I don't even know all the battles. There's hundreds and tons. I'll never forget when I went to the library there, and I'm like, I'm gonna go decode Vietnam because I'd already started decoding some of Vietnam. Her messing with Vietnam, and we got a book on Vietnam, and it was like looking at, oh my god, I was like, where do I even bring? I didn't even know what was what. It was like. It's probably like you guys looking at my podcast, the size of my podcast is me looking at the Vietnam War, and I'm like looking at like numbers and letters and locate, like I'm like, I don't even know. I went and took the book back. I was like, I can't. But anyway, so because she was stalking my dad in Vietnam. My dad's a Vietnam vet. So anyway, and I started decoding where she was making all kinds of Vietnam references in my life as when I was a child. Like she was referring to me as like trash because I was a Marine veteran, a Marine's child. You know what I mean? And it was all a part of her Charles Manson stint, which is what she still does today. But anyway, and then she tried to make it look like she tried to write demon ciphers, and then she tried to make it look like my dad was writing demon ciphers, and you've got all the podcasts on that. But anyway, like it's freaking hilarious, some of it. But anyway, and some of it's not. Some of it'll make you cry and scream and puke. Like, how could this have happened underneath everyone's noses? And this bitch saunters about yelling fuck you and thank you and poop every 5 seconds and is literally committing terrorism. In present day at Tulsa, she like in my brain, she claims she's ISIS. She claims she's Iran. She claims she's the Marine. She claims she's a cop. She claims she's the chief of police. She claims like she's got a whole group of people. They just say whoever they want to be, and then like it's coverage for them. They think they're being cute. She pulls in ding dongs to do that. And then that's coverage from them underneath where they really are way down, like Gene Roberts and her Manson are really writing demonic ciphers and are really committing terrorism in these nations and within these groups of people, and then blaming these people. And it's Gene Roberts. It's Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. So anyway, the book that I was reading was about Somalia. Somalia was Black Hawk Down. It wasn't the battle of Black Hawk Down. I see what I'm getting confused is Christopher Stevens, Black Hawk Down. Okay, Christopher Stevens, Black Hawk Down. The Battle of Mogadishu is Somalia. Okay, so I was reading about Somalia, the Battle of Mogadishu. Now, I told you I decoded the Battle of Mogadishu. She pre-planned to do that in the 70s. And she used nursery rhymes from, and also that's blue and white, the world book that I used to get into when I was in first grade in Globe, reading all the nursery rhymes and stuff. And I decoded all this stuff around dish and spoon, and I decoded like all this stuff, and then there's all kinds of stuff to it. I turned it in the book that I decode the ciphers on that end to the Tulsa police, and it was in my Martin Luther King junior book. It was a smaller book. And I bought the smaller book because I wanted to have a reference book, like an index of all my bigger books to decode. But I ended up filling up the whole book with more decoded ciphers. So anyway, so this was about Somalia. So anyway, in reading the book is about a POW, an American POW that was held hostage over there, and it was about his experience being held hostage, and that's why I have that song Rooster on my Scorpio 71 playlist, was because of Somalia, and it's because of soldiers being held hostage. And it's not just American soldiers, it's any soldiers, it's anybody anywhere. It's just running a hostage racket. So anyway, Somalia, she committed that crime also. So that also was an ICE event. So reading this book like broke my heart about this POW. So she's making references and punning the two crimes that she committed in regards to Black Hawk Down, and then in regards to Somalia. She's punning them and telling lies with them, and basically she's smacking the United States in the face, and she's smacking these nations in the face. So, I mean, I don't know how she's getting away with any of that, but anyway, so because they can't arrest her yet. That's all they can say. So, and it's people like talking oh my God. So I'm switching subjects for a minute. So a couple times this is a new update on a new guy that shows up in my brain. So there's a couple times in my brain where this guy shows up, and I guess he lives here in Tulsa. I don't know. I'm scared of him. Like, he's scary. He's literally like scary. He's literally like scary because he's mean as a cuss. And he is all about Gene Jernigan Roberts. So Gene Jernigan Roberts is linked up and hooked up to the Ku Klux Klan. Gene is Ku Klux Klan. Her Manson occult is Ku Klux Klan. Gene is Ku Klux Klan. And this guy is Ku Klux Klan, okay? And so she goes and does some sob story to him, and then he comes on in my brain and he gets all like, and next thing you know, her and her occult go running around doing mic drop stunts and showing off and telling lies and committing crime and going about their business. And then they like try to do like stupid stunts. So like, it's just stupid what they do, but it choreographed like AI crap mixed with them really assaulting people in the environment to do their synchronizations. But anyway, so he like comes on in my brain. He's real freaking mean looking. But he's got really a really long beard, like almost like ZZ Top. But he doesn't look like ZZ Top. Like, he looks like somebody ZZ Top would be, like, modeled after. He's got a really long beard, and he's got his beard, his hair on his head is just like his beard hair. And it's like, he's old. He's like a mean-looking, like, Father Time. Like, he's real, like, he's he's got to be Ku Klux Klan or inner cult. Somebody told me that guy is Ku Klux Klan. But anyway, he is highly synced up with them. So I know he's been helping Gene Jernigan Roberts get away with committing crime. I don't know who he is or where he's from or what, but anyway, so okay, so I want to talk about Eric Garner again, okay? So, I decoded Eric Garner, okay? So, Eric Garner was someone who was killed by law enforcement, and I decoded the crime. The crime was already, like, they already had, the police killed him, and then there was a civil suit against the police, and then it was like seemingly like settled, and I decoded his crime, or not his crime, I decoded the crime against him. Sorry, she's controlling my speech again. I went over the crime and I decoded even more, and this is back when I lived in Slidell, and what I was decoding was making me ball freaking crying because I couldn't believe the atrociousness or the audacity of, and at the time I didn't know who it was because this was like when I was still living at my dad's. I wasn't even at my apartment yet, where I started picking up more of the pieces, decoding more of the pieces that it's Charles Manson, but still not catching on yet. So, I mean, I had no idea yet that it was Charles Manson at all. And so I'm like, I don't know if it's like, is it like KKK police? Like, who is doing this? So I'm like, and I know it's linked to crimes that Gene committed because I had already started decoding more present day terrorism, and I had already started decoding, I think I was working more on historical crimes and present day crimes at that time that she was committing. I don't know if I started decoding yet that she had done the World Trade Center attack. But anyway, I'm like, who is doing, like, what is going on? I was like freaking out. So anyway, I was like decoding this and I was crying. I was like beside myself that somebody could be so freaking evil to do this to him. I was ballistic. So anyway, it linked to my childhood, like what her taking his life linked to my childhood. Like she was using parts of my childhood in the 70s as a theme to taking his life. And so I was like literally like freaking out. And so I'm decoding his crime and I'm like, I started freaking out. So then I decided, I was walking and I'd started walking to lose weight and get healthy again. And I decided that I was going to seek, and I was dead serious about this. And somebody told me today, you're still breaking records. It's just a different way, Christina. And eventually Gene Roberts will be arrested. And you're still breaking records because now you've got your podcast. And so once Gene is arrested, like you can get back to like walking and getting like back in healthy shape again. But anyway, so I decided to walk for him because I was thinking about how people like do like 10K and 10Ks and 4Ks, and they like walk or run for a cause. And so I was like, in my brain, I'm like, in order to get that to work, you have to get people to like pledge you, to get money, to make money for the cause. And I'm like, told myself in my brain, I'm like, I'm just going to do this. And hopefully one day this is going to make me, somebody's talking through me right now. Anyway, so I'm like, hopefully one day, every step that I make or every mile that I walk will account or equate for something that is transferable into true justice for Eric Garner. And so I started walking. And I was already walking, but I mean, I was like really, 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 really walking. And so every day I would walk like 3 miles. Sometimes like it would be on the weekends I would walk in the morning. Sometimes I would walk twice a day. At night I would walk, at night after work I'd walk like 3 miles. Like I told you a couple of times, I was able to walk like 10 miles and even over 10 miles. And then I would track it on my phone, how much I was walking. And I wasn't tracking it for my own success of like losing weight or getting healthy. I was tracking it to add this up for Eric Garner. And so I walked and 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 I walked. And then I'm like, I gotta walk. I expand this. Somebody probably put that in your brain because I was like, I'm doing this the way that I've always been doing it. But then I was walking, and then I'm like, I ought to expand this because I was decoding the numbers that Jean used. Jean controlled my audio. Like, I made that last recording, and I said 22 is Jean Roberts' favorite number. She edited my audio, that little, you know how she likes to do the little tiny, like, clip and stitches? And she flipped it around and reversed it as if I said the other. And if I say it right now, then she'll steal that and still lie. So she's lying to somebody. You killed John F. Kennedy. You used the number 22 and you killed John F. Kennedy. It's your favorite freaking number, Jean. The number 2 is Jean Roberts' favorite number. The number 2 and the letter Y and V. And now, of the past 3 years, 1, which she does because she likes to only admit that she crashed 1 tower in the World Trade Center. She crashed all 4 planes. And another is to steal one of my favorite songs of all time, Metallica 1, because she's literally like rubbing in my face that she's going to get away with trafficking me and my friends in high school. It goes all the way back all my life, but 1 goes to high school. And she wants to call herself 1, Mrs. Benedict Arnold. So anyway, that's another alias that she uses. So anyway, and then also she knows that you know the real, because of you decoding, somebody's talking through me, they're reminding me how I'm decoding numbers, and I know what I know what 1 lightning bolt is, I know what 2 lightning bolts is, I know what 3 lightning bolts are, and so she is a 2 lightning bolt, but she knows I know what 1 lightning bolt is, and she wants to make herself 1 lightning bolt. Do you see what I'm saying there? And she's not. She is a 2 and a 3 lightning bolt. Do you know what I'm saying? For those, if you just go through my podcast, so I don't have to go through decoding all the numbers with you here. So anyway, so she's like, so she's trying to steal the number 1, okay? And plus, that's what she thinks of herself. So anyway, so I was like walking, and I'm like, I expand this and walk for more causes. And I was like, I'll go through the alphabet. Like, I want to fix everything that Jean broke. Like, every crime that Jean committed, every life that she took, like, I want to fix it. I want to do everything I can to fix it. Like, I'm heartbroken. Like, I just want to fix everything and everybody's lives that she took. And so I'm like, I'm decoding the numbers and how she's used numbers and history as a theme to commit crime with. And I'm decoding what all these numbers mean to her. And like, so I know what all the numbers are. Okay. And then I decode even more on numbers later on. So I know so the numbers are a very, very, very big deal. So I'm like, so is the alphabet. So I'm like learning all the letter exchanges and everything. So I'm like, I'll go through the alphabet. Because I'm like, I know how to decode her ciphers in and out. So I'm like, I'll start with A, and then I'll walk for causes that start with A. And I had picked 4 causes that start with A. And I wrote like 4 little A's. And I made them like four little aces, and I'm like giving like Jean the freaking bird in my brain, and I'm like walking my ass off lap after lap after lap. And so, Anyway, so so anyway, I was like, but I didn't stick with the alphabet and the numbering thing. I just kept walking for Eric Garner. And anyway, I ended up getting very healthy while being stalked, while being assaulted by her and her occult. I got very, by the time I moved to Texas, I was pretty small, and that's the picture. The day that I got to Texas is the picture of me that I use on my website and on my Gmail and all that, because that's like, I'm freaking proud of that. You know what I mean? And one day I'll get there again, but right now I'm going to turn in Jean. But like and there's no filters on that picture. Not one single filter. I was just so proud that I was able to accomplish something like that. And it was like all heart and soul, decoding the terrorism, planning to turn Jean in, and making physical motion at the same time with my feet, seeking justice, like doing everything I can to right Jean's wrongs, like to fix things. You know what I mean? So, but one day I'll get there. One day I'll get there again. But anyway, so Eric Garner, so I've already have Eric Garner decoded, and I turned Jean in for taking Eric Garner's life, and I still don't consider that Eric Garner's family has received the full justice that they are afforded. But I bet at this point, Jean has committed so many crimes. I bet you there's a class action thing going on. You know, there's gotta be, because Jean Roberts has committed those crimes. So this is more evidence that I just decoded. So her taking Eric Garner's life links to several other crimes that Jean also committed. So I want to go over more additional decode that I just decoded. Okay, so Eric Garner connects to Terrance Crutcher. Now, Terrance Crutcher is someone that was killed here in Tulsa by a police officer, and I decoded tons and tons of pages, and I've got a podcast going over even more on Jean Roberts taking Terrance Crutcher's life. And I turned Jean Roberts in for taking Terrance Crutcher's life also. So Eric Garner connects to, she combines Eric Garner, Jean Roberts combines Eric Garner and Terrance Crutcher. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put a parenthesis between the C and the G, and then between the N and the E, you're going to want to put another parenthesis. So GARN is in parentheses. And then you're going to want to write Terrance Crutcher underneath it. And then you're going to want to put, and then she even did that. Tehran, Iran. She did that too. So TER and then RAN in parentheses and then the ER. So you're finding the letters that are similar in Eric Garner. So you see how it's connected. And then you look at the letters that are left. So she made a reference there to Crutchfield, and Crutchfield are speakers. Now I decoded, which obviously she did that because Outcast, she tried to heavily white people Outcast. Remember they had that album Speaker Box? Okay, you know, she iced the heck out of their music. So she was using speaker brands, and brands of music in some of her demonic ciphers, and she was probably like doing that. And you could syrup, you know, Jean did it. She's probably trying to like frame people is what she's probably trying to do, which I mean, come up. Anyway, so she used Crutchfield. Okay, so if you look at Eric Garner and you look at Terrance Crutcher, you see E and then you see T. So there's an ET reference there. Okay. So inside between these two is the gambler. Okay. So the gambler, I decoded that before. That goes back to my childhood in the 70s. She's making a Kenny Rogers reference. You picked a fine time to leave me, Lucille, with 4 hungry children and crops in the field. Okay, so she uses Lucille Ball. I love Lucille Ball. She uses Lucille Ball as a reference in some of the terrorism that she commits. And she's making a reference of like Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball. She's making a reference to what's his name? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I like yelled at her. I called her his name. She's making a reference to Richard Ramirez is what she's doing. And she, like in my life and stalking me, she used Lucille Ball as a theme. Okay. So anyway, so that's what she's doing there. So she's using the gambler from Kenny Rogers. So inside also this, she shot Steve Scalice. Okay. Steve Scalice was, I don't know if he's still in office or not, but he was a senator, or he may still be a senator for Louisiana. Steve Scalice. He was shot at a ball game and now he's on crutches. So she's referring to Steve Scalice in here by using the ET, and I don't know, probably the ET, the T and the ET and Steve is probably, because I'm like, you're a freaking liar, Gene. So anyway, but even the Steve, like the you loved E.T. E.T. came out when I was in 6th grade. You can even see 6th grade in there. See IXT. And then look, there's exit again. So when I just saw that a second ago, again, exit, her exit theme. So 6th grade. So she's using that. So she's using Steve Scalice. I already decoded her shooting Steve Scalice. She also committed a crime here in Tulsa, another crime here in Tulsa, and I can't find the story on it. I tried to research it, and I knew that she did it. I could tell that she did it when I lived in Slidell. But there was a shooting at a ball game here in Tulsa, and I knew that she did the shooting. And it's another ICE shooting. All these are ICE shootings. But she's the one that did all these. She's the one that committed all these shootings. But the cop, I don't know about the cop, that wasn't a shooting. I don't know about that. African Americans told me they would find out. They look at everything. They look at every detail. They don't live in la denial land. They want to know, like, is there ICE involved? Is there not ICE involved? Who was ICE? Who wasn't ICE? And it doesn't matter what part of the crime scene you were in, whether you were the victim or whether you were the assailant. They look at everything. So because I just know that Gene Roberts committed the crime, and then they're like, we'll take it from here and we'll go find out, is what they tell me. So anyway, so Steve Scalice, there was a baseball shooting here in Tulsa, and she committed that shooting also. And that's when I lived in Slidell, and I knew that she did that shooting. And she told me in my brain that is linked to her doing the shooting of Steve Scalice, but she wouldn't admit that she committed the shootings. She knows I know she did the shootings. What she did is she gave me a freaking song and dance in my brain and said that it is a trade-off, and that Black people and police are doing a trade-off, and that they did that together and she didn't do anything, is what she told me in my brain. And I went, bullshit. And she's just, I'm like thinking in my brain, like, just don't even freaking talk to me. And she still pushes that in my brain to this day, and I just ignore her. Like, she never committed any crime. She doesn't, the pencil rapist, the lady that did the World Trade Center attack, she doesn't know anybody she's talking about. She didn't commit any crime or honor Manson occult or angels. Leave them alone, they're innocent. No, you and your Manson occult committed those crimes. And you got tons of people icing people committing crime that way. So anyway, she's trying to make it look like everybody's just playing a game and they're all doing it amongst themselves and blah, blah, blah. No, you're doing that and you're trying to frame people. So now the baseball goes to shooting Steve Scalice at a baseball game. So basically, she just told on herself for committing both shootings, goes to the baseball shooting here in Tulsa. Whoever was shot here in Tulsa. And you would have to look between the years of, well, you probably already know, but the years 2000, the years 2016 to 2000, to 2021, in that range is where you're going to want to look for it. So anyway, also in this, encoded in both of these is grain of rice. Okay, so she's using grain of rice. Now, what she's making a reference to there is she's using me as a theme because she's also using Ben of me in 2016 and 17 crying over Ben. And I was like, you just have to have the faith of a mustard seed. And I was like, that's what she was using, is that she's making a reference to that, like, little, like, you have to have like that teeny tiny of faith is what she's saying. So, and then, oh my God, just, I'm not going to drag more people. It's more people I know that she's talking. So anyway, she uses everybody I know in committing crime. So anyway, he, died on July 17, 2014. Now I know you know the 17, obviously, but the 17 goes to the year. So this was July 17th, 2014. But this 17, it goes to the 17 and she always uses it, but it goes to the year 2017 when I had started talking to Ben again and things started going crazy and I'm blah, blah, blah. So she's like, and I told you when I turned 46, my life started going downhill. Okay, so it was spiral down the Alice in Wonderland hole. So that's when I turned 46, was in 2016. So in 2000, so she's making a reference to 2017 there. So there's 17, 16, 15, 14. She's also using Garnett. Now, I don't know Tulsa that well. I'm just now getting to know Tulsa pretty good, but I don't know Tulsa that well. But anyway, I went to go to, when I lived in Slidell, I went to go to Arizona with my grandma's station. I went to go visit my family, and my grandma gave me a beautiful, it was the first time I went over. She gave me a beautiful garnet necklace and bracelet. It was gorgeous. And so what she's using there is she's making a reference to my necklace. She's also probably making a reference to, she's got a necklace chain ring going on. So she's probably making a reference there. And then she's making a reference to Garnett. There's a Garnett Road here. But also in this, linked in this, is Gene Roberts also committing the Garland Mosque shooting. Okay, so now these crimes are connected to the Garland Mosque shooting, and she tried to frame the military for doing that. In my brain, she tried to frame the military. She tries to blame the military for everything. And then I just caught up with it, the Garland Mosque shooting again today. And it said there was the FBI agent on the scene. And somebody in my brain goes, who was the FBI agent? Gene Roberts? Gene Roberts is not in the FBI. Gene Roberts committed the Garland Mosque shooting. So, anyway, so Garland is a town that is a suburb or a linked suburb to Mesquite, Texas. When I was married to Ben, we lived in Mesquite, Texas. Okay, so, and then you're going to instantly think of the Las Vegas shooting because of that guy is also linked to Gene Roberts. Gene Roberts did the Las Vegas shooting also. So, anyway, so the Garland Mosque shooting, so more in the Garland Mosque shooting is Stephen Curtis Chapman, who is a Christian singer. So she's using a Christian singer. And then also pointing out, it said, featuring cartoon images. So what she's doing there, the shooting at the Garland Mosque shooting, the cartoon images, Gene Roberts, it is not the people that we're blamed for, is Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. Who Gene Roberts is referring to is the Marine, and I think he is a cartoonist. Either I read it or somebody told me that he's a cartoonist. He's referring to the Marine that was held hostage in the Iran hostage crisis in 1979. He was from my hometown in Globe, and his name was Jimmy Lopez. Either I read that he was a cartoonist or somebody in my brain told me he was a cartoonist. So anyway, so that's what the reference is there. She's trying to frame the Marine. She's trying to make it look like it's the Marines. I don't know what she's trying to do. She's trying to run a con with this, is what she's trying to do. But she's the one that did the Garland Mosque shooting. So then that was in 2015. Okay. So what's notable here is May and then June and then July, and then what comes next that's missing, she's using a silent E. That's August. That's Leo. So if you take 2015 minus 1979, it comes out to 36. And she's also using the word lucky, and she's also making a reference to clotter rings. I told you I love clotter rings. My family loves clotter rings. Now, when I was talking to Ben for that short time in 2017, when I was trying to get on all the drama and all that, I bought him a clotter ring and was like, I was doing anything and everything to get him to talk to me again. It was all failed. It's freaking hilarious. I look back on it, but it's all important. I gotta bring it up because it's like it's all evidence. So, anyway, so the clotter rings. I bought him a clotter ring. Even that I bought it at JC Penney. So the clotter ring, and then he tells me that he loses it, and then look at that, even the LUC. But I'm like, I knew he'd probably lose it. But anyway, so that's the end of this recording.